Hey everyone, so in this video we're going to talk about the importance of making mini sketches, and almost every artist has somewhere in their drawer lying around a little A5 A6 sketchbook, and hopefully you will be motivated enough to pick it up again after watching this video. And to be really honest, I did find out my sketchbook in the drawer. My cousins came to our house this week, and we were all hanging out in my room, and I just noticed that it really needed a cleaning session. So yeah, anyways, this is an A6 sketchbook, and the reference is from Whiplash. And yeah, this is like what I do before drawing, just sharpening my pencil. And
God, there is no.
yeah, anyways. So the first thing that I want to bring up is like the benefit of starting a little sketchbook is it really doesn't let you like get intimidated. Even if you're drawing a complicated reference image, it can be an animal or a portrait or a scene from a movie. It really doesn't intimidate you, because if you are like used to drawing on an A4 or an A3 paper, it's that stark white is really going to get you. Like, it's going to make you feel like, oh, that is going to be a lot of work, and it ends up being a lot of work, by the way. That's true. And it also again kind of depends upon the medium of your choice, because with charcoal you can still finish your work really quickly, as the values, you can go really dark with your values really fast. With graphite, it's not really how it works, as you really have to build up your values. Unlike in charcoal, you can get really dark really fast with charcoal, but with graphite you cannot just jam your 6B pencil in and expect to like put a highlight later on, because that is not going to work. So yeah, if you're just having that little area to cover in that tiny sketchbook that you're drawing on, you're going to have that gratification of like having finished the work in a day or in a couple of hours. And the second thing is that it's really going to add to your skill of being able to simplify things. So if you look at the works of John Singer Sargent or any other old painters, they are really held in such high regard because they could represent changes in form with the least amount of brushstrokes that are possible. And it's not that they were just doing it in paint. If you look at like I think there was a book called Alpine Sketchbooks which had like works of John Singer Sargent in pencil. It really showed how much he simplified things, and with bigger works you can almost always see too many details, and it gets really confusing really fast. And since there is not a lot of space to add those details in a little sketchbook, then you are just forced to like simplify things and just like represent multiple things that you see in an average value shape, if that makes sense. Like, this is one of the works that I made a few months ago, and even though it's a small A5 sketch, I still had to go in and add some details there. And again, it's not really going to work on an A5 all the time, but as you can see, it's really something that kind of glues together when you're drawing small. So you can see me using my electrical eraser to depict this lighter form that is sort of wrapping around his neck because the light is coming from behind. I don't really need to be worried too much about the details. I can just squint my eyes, see the average value, and just go in. And if you were working on a larger piece of paper, it's going to take you some time, as you're not going to be able to fool the viewer by adding too little details. It's just not possible. With a small sketchbook you can get away with a lot of things. And I guess this would bring me to my third point, and I genuinely believe that it's a really important thing, and I want you to understand that these sketches are not really meant to be perfect, or you don't even have to show people what you're making in these little sketchbooks. And just a quick FYI, the quality of materials that you're using in drawing, it really matters. I'm not saying you cannot make great artworks without really incredible materials. You obviously can, but it does make the job easier. And if you have to invest in something, I would suggest that you invest in some really great quality paper before you even go out to get some great pencils, as unlike what I used to think otherwise, it's like paper is more important than the kind of pencils that you're using. And I did want to mention that because I don't really want you to think that you need to get some high grade sketchbooks to like make these sketches, as that's not the point of these sketches. It's not supposed to be something that you can call complete or something that is close to perfect. You are supposed to fuck up in these sketchbooks. And the sketchbook that I'm using now is alright, but let's be honest, it doesn't really hold a candle to anything that Strathmore has to offer, and I'm not too worried about it. Like, if you can zoom in on this video, then you can see that the grain is already messed up, and the paper is not holding any more graphite or charcoal. But That's the point of these sketches. So if let's assume that you've already spent like 2 hours on a portrait and then you get stuck on drawing hair and you absolutely suck at drawing hair, it's not a good time to learn how to draw a hair after you've spent like 2 hours just making that portrait. You're going to fuck that whole piece up. And I heard this line from someone else that the worst time to learn how to fight is during a fight. Like, you don't want that smoke when you're in the heat of the battle. You want those things to be figured out and you want to learn how to perform when the time does come. So let's say you have trouble drawing lips. So if you were to draw lips a dozen times on this sketchbook, then you will have that much of an easier time when you're moving on to something higher grade like Strathmore, like I said before. Anyways, I think this is it for the video, and I hope you learned something from this, and I will see you next week.